Hey, what's going on? This is the Wrestling War Journal for everything that took place on May 14th. I'm still wiped out. I got at least a decent night's sleep. So I'll go in reverse of my day. So the night ended with Eric Walker. Um, the Waffle House had so few employees that they were doing takeout only, um, which I think says a lot about the state of affairs in general. It's just tough to find people to work, which we'll get to me in a bit. So it's a little after 8 in the morning on the 15th. So I started nodding off a little after midnight, which is unusual for me, but I had quite a day, as you'll hear in reverse. But Eric Walker, so we picked up Waffle House for me and the kids and him, and we just stayed in my room talking wrestling stuff, just talking about the evening and talking about wrestling in general. And then I walked him down to the lobby, and one of the things is he has a great opportunity. He talked a lot about Pro South and the fun that he's having there and how he really feels confident about what he's doing. We talked about Pro South in general and what that show has become and the work that Ace Haven and other peoples have put in to make that place great, and how it's now like standard must-see viewing for Larry Goodman, for example. I also heard a number of wrestlers mention how they felt when they finally felt like they charmed Larry or impressed Larry, so he would write things about them that they enjoyed. And again, there's just no replacing a guy like Larry. Um, for all the people that do reports right now with Rob, and Charles, and Duke Ingram, and Jabari, and once in a while other guys like Jeff Richards and Scott Hensley, and um, Jeff even will put in a report about a death match. And all these people writing reports, and it's so great. But it's always important to remember that Larry is the one, and he's been doing it for a long time. But I pitched my idea, and I just it's one of those things about myself. I've never been able to monetize these things to their utmost, which is maybe my fault, but it's also kind of an unknown thing. Like, how do you monetize wrestling idea when you're in the position I am? I'm not sure, but I pitched him my idea, and as soon as it came out of my mouth, I knew it was great. And and to have him sort of meet eyes with me and just went, I could see his face, which was like, holy shit. And I just know that that's part of me, and it's really great. And I'm glad he liked the idea, and hopefully the parties who are interested in him coming up with a thing will also love the idea. I'm supposed to sleep until 9, but I got up at like 7:30 on my own, um, and then just couldn't go back to sleep, which is unusual for me because I need that sleep. Of course, Veronica's up and doing stuff. I'm trying to keep this low because Leo's asleep in the other bed. Veronica just came over because saw I was doing a video and was interested. Of course. Goofball. I was glad my kids got to see me in action at IWE. Leo took a view from the seats, and Veronica was kind of interested in being around me and being part of the action. I was very proud of the kids, introducing themselves to people and taking it all in and looking the part. One thing about the IWE show, the first thing I noted, and yeah, I'm going to talk about all of it, don't worry. The first thing I noticed was a lot of the wrestlers really looking good as they were coming in. Now, I was thrown off, right? Normally, I get there around noon. If I have lunch with whomever, then I'll get there at 1:30. In my mind, I had all of these plans time-wise. I mean, I got up at 3:30 in the morning so we could leave the house by 5 in the morning, which the kids, they were ready, which is unbelievable to me. So we got in the car at 5. Got I had the rental car, which is a big old rental car.
It was
The,
a trumpet track.
she said it's a trumper truck. It was an F-150, which was wonderful for the ride as far as comfort and all of that. What was not wonderful is when I had to fill up that gas tank. Money is in short supply. And the reason I had a rental is because I was buying a car. And so then I went and bought a car. And so now I have a car payment. So if I look a little stressed out, it's because of that. Not because it's unfair. I mean, I'm happy with the car that I have, but money is so tight for me. And I already work so hard. And now I'm going to have to just work harder. So I'm now planning my schedule around how can I get in 70, 80 hours a week of work at least. Um, and what other side ways can I make money? Um, and so right now it's like a feeling in my gut. It's just really hard. I'm not gonna dismiss that part of it when it colors everything else that I'm doing. Whew, it's tough. But being around a wrestling locker room, even getting there as late as I did, I mean, by the time I got there, Tim was giving the speech. I like that he gave the speech from inside the ring instead of outside, which is how he's done it since I've been involved with IWE. I thought it was great. I didn't like it because again, I didn't get a chance to sort of like greet the guys as they came in and have that casual time talking and do a diary beforehand. All the stuff I like to do because buying a car is an arduous process. It took hours, and again, the kids just stuck through all of that. I'm amazed. I had a chance to talk to Huckabee. We talked about how we're raising our kids. It's kind of conversations I would want to have more with more people, but I'm glad I had that with Huckabee. Um,
I am such a good kid.
what a goofer. Anyway, so at the show, I'm going to admit to something. It took me a little while to get in the groove, right? Things were a little off. Like a couple of the personnel weren't there, like the guy who usually makes copies of the booking sheet. So there's just like one hand drawn sheet. And then as matches got moved around, then part of my job became make sure Diana knows, make sure everybody knows. And then I finally got to dive into what I think I'm really good at. Since since the logistical thing of making sure Tim did that in his speech, which was much appreciated, because it's one of those things that I think doesn't really require an expert touch, which is like we're doing this in the main event, so make sure nobody else does this. We're doing this in this match, so make sure nobody else does that. I thought that was really great. That's a simple logistical thing. It doesn't really require any kind of expert touch. But what can happen is just tweaking finishes and making sure this works and talking to the guys in the dark match um, to let them know what I think that they could improve upon. And it was a good example because there were other guys who were like, well, I'm going to talk to him about, and they're more worried about the wrestling minutia of moves and whatever. My thing was more like performative. That was kind of my word of the night was performative. Um, and then I've learned how to approach people where if it feels like they're going to put up a wall about learning or hearing a certain thing, then I just don't give it to them. and that's okay. But most people are receptive to it. So the thing at the end. So we had the surprise appearance by Cruel at the end. So Joe Black wins. Watching him and Anthony Henry sort of talk that thing out and then execute it so well was a lot of fun to me. I feel like they had a better match this time than they did the other time. And the other time was fine, but this time I think the crowd was with it. I think there was a flow. There's just a comfort that comes when you work with somebody more than once, certainly, especially if you're good. Joe Black definitely qualifies, as does Anthony Henry. So Cruel makes his appearance. Crowd's all about it. They want something big to happen. Cruel drops Tyreek. Tyreek, by the way, definitely went up a level in my eyes. I'll talk more about that in full disclosure. I'm definitely impressed. I'm also impressed with Alexander Hammerstone. I think he's trimmed up while still remaining muscular and athletic, and I think it's improved his speed. I think Coach Mikey losing weight has also improved his speed and energy level in the ring and timing and all of that. I think it's wonderful. But Hammerstone had a great idea, which is like while he's laying there with Alan Angels, who I also think has never looked better. It's amazing what seasoning does and a shift in perspective does. Right. So Hammerstone's like, go get him and have him cut the promo about how he's making it where we can't have 5 more minutes. And Tyreek, as soon as he heard the orders, boy, went out there and cut a spontaneous manager promo. That guy's going to be up for manager of the year, and deservedly so. Not just because that there's been a general lack, or because Matt Hankins is just so superior that it's impossible to imagine another manager even competing. Tyreek's competing with him this year, and it's really exciting to me. He's 20. Super great. But Joe backs up out of the ring, comes around, drunken fan yelling stuff at him, flips the guy's hat off. Um, I watched video of this more than a few times, and I saw it as it happened. I don't think Joe touched his face at all, in the slightest. He flipped his hat off. We'll talk about judgments on stuff. I'm just telling you what happened. Um, Joe flipped his hat off. Guy headbutts Joe, and it's on. And a bunch of wrestlers came out. Now, one thing I did not like was Huckabee later saying, like, all these wrestlers came out, nobody threw a punch, nobody did shit. Man, people were all over it. Danny Meade, the referee, for one thing, immediately yoked the guy up and grabbed his arm and held him and paid the price. Like his hands all messed up, all this kind of stuff. Scrum happens, people are yelling back and forth, it's chaos, right? Security's doing their best to sort of calm a situation down. But what the main takeaway that I got is diffusing a situation before it escalates is always preferable to trying to put out a raging fire. And that's what that scene was. It felt like a raging fire. And and then there's the aftermath, people outside, people talking shit, and all the rest of it. And I'll go into more detail on this on full disclosure. But Tim was upset, and understandably so, right? Nobody wants that to happen under their watch, unless they're a terrible leader. They don't want that to happen under their watch. So we had a number of discussions, and a couple of the wrestlers that were more inclined to, like, in the future we should do this, in the future we should do that, instead of just yelling and screaming and all the rest of that stuff. Which again, I totally get happening. Shit, I was a wrestler. I was a young guy. I will say this too, like this kind of fracas, which people get really up in arms about, and understandably so. It's a different era. My God, in the late '90s and early 2000s, I was just called every single fucking night. I'll just be honest. Um, down to what it immediately invoked in me. And it's funny because it was not seen as anything negative or a big deal at all. Was on the last night of Anarchy, right? Where we had the big war games thing betwixt PCW faction and the Anarchy faction, where the stipulation was if Anarchy won, then Jeff G got to have me in a cage, right? So Anarchy wins, and the plan is I take off through the crowd, beeline for the front door, and Seven is there waiting for me. He picks me up, brings me into the ring, throws me in the ring, and then Jeff G and I do our thing. I hop the rail, and believe me, I'm moving as fast as I can. I have no desire to have to do a bunch of stuff. I'm immediately beset upon by multiple fans who are holding me, attempting to grapple with me. So I'm fighting out of their grasp. Keep in mind, this is more than one person swarming me, surrounding me. Security's not helping me through, nor did I think they should. Nor would I have wanted that, if I'm being honest. I'm just being honest, right? And I'm getting hit at this point because again I'm thrashing to get free. So am I hitting people? Yeah, I'm not like elbowing, though I'm sure someone got elbowed. I'm not punching, though I'm sure somebody got smacked with my hand. Because I'm thrashing around trying to get free. Because all I'm thinking is get to that fucking front door, and then they've got a hold of me, a hold of me, and a hold of me. Look at this kid. You. They
Demonstration.
they've got a demonstration. They got a hold of me, right? So now I'm grabbing, pulling fingers. I don't know how long it lasts, but it's a violent exchange. It's thrashing around, and literally I finally claw my way out. Now imagine a, a couple minutes of basically thrashing and being as physical as you can to get free. Now I get to the front door, and I think I literally I did the I'm sure I did the like oh no thing. Seven grabs me, picks me up, and Seven understandably is like this is the only spot I'm getting, so I'm gonna do something else beyond. It's supposed to be carry me to the ring because I'm just gonna be blunt, and I hope this doesn't hurt his feelings. In my mind, I'm like I have to carry Jeff G in a match. He's not a wrestler, right? I'm gonna have to do all the bumping. And we had worked out a little match, not just him bashing me into the cage and me getting color and then tapping out to the figure four. There's a whole lot of other shit. And I'm tired. And the Seven's picking me up. And without warning, fucking javelins me into the cage. That dude is big. They call him Seven because he's and he's throwing me. So okay, so I take the take in the cage, and I have to go all the way to the concrete fucking floor. Okay, I do it and I don't get hurt. How lucky are they that I didn't get fucking hurt on that shit? And then he picks me up and does it again. I felt like fucking liberties were taken with me. The fucking fans. I didn't. No security fucking helped me. Seven throws me in the fucking cage a couple times, and then gets me in the ring. So after all of that bullshit, fucking 5 minutes of me fucking doing physical shit, I gotta fucking take a hip toss and fucking do all these spots and get color and all this other shit. I'm I'm not a fucking active wrestler at this point anymore. Keep that in mind. But I do it. And then Jeff G also gets color because he doesn't want to be, he doesn't want me to have all the fun. Talk about fucking weird wrestling mentality. Gets me in that figure four and I tap out after taking a hip toss and doing spots with Jeff and all this other shit. And then I remember lying there, me defeated and Rachel defeated, and as the guys came in to like celebrate, which is cool, like other shit happened. Like they would take full cans of fucking beer. Keep in mind, I just fucking gave everything, right? Just did everything. Fucking paid it off. And they're like dropping full cans of beer on us. Like again, but you know what? It's fucking wrestling.
Yes.
And what happened at IWE, and I'll speak more on this, it's heat. And people say they want heat. And obviously, you don't want anybody to get hurt. And I think Tim and IWE has put out the appropriate response and will continue to do so. And I'm sure we'll talk about it more today at brunch. But here's the truth: heat, heat, fire. And you know what's something about fire that people don't want to hear in the modern age, but it's absolutely true? You cannot control it ultimately. You could put systems in place to make it as safe as possible. But when younger guys hear these stories of heat and guys having to get snuck out in order to not get murdered, when you hear about shows like Zach Gowen told the story today about how at an ICP show, a guy came at his opponent with a knife and he had to tackle him. Like, alcohol and influence combined with high levels of stimulation in an IWE show. Other groups like Southern Honor did a great job with their last show of having like a really impactful ending that was heel based. IWE, that's the coin of the realm. That even though Cruel appeared, Joe Black, the heel champion with Tyreek running his mouth endlessly, won. And now we've set up a future match with Cruel, who we do not know if he's a heel or a face. And like, and how is that going to jibe with them teaming up with Southern Honor? I think we've come up with a good story and people will see that play out. But IWE fans are nuts. And there were over 300 of them. It's a show that's growing, and it's a show where people feel about the heels. And while Joe Black should be upset in the sense that he should feel physically safe, he would be lying if he said he didn't enjoy going right up to that line. Well, the thing about going right up to that line is people want to cross it because you're daring them as a man to not cross it. That guy who jumped up on the apron, is that Joe Black's fault? No, not at all. Is the guy headbutting Joe's fault? No, not at all. But I, who used to tweak fans, rip signs, do stuff, when they got physical with me, did I like it? I can speak for me, yes. Did I ask for it? I can only speak for me, not speaking for Joe Black or anybody else or admonishing or anything. Yes. I just saying. Because the true coin of the realm is heat. Heat. You fucking want it. That's what we deal in. And we say we want it. Now, we can talk about responses to incidents and that kind of thing, sure. But at the end of the day, don't you love the heat? Isn't that what you want? Fuck, I know I do. Gonna get ready. This thing is 23 minutes long. I'm gonna go back to my life with a car. And I'm gonna work my ass off. And I'm gonna have to figure some stuff out. And I still have the most massive platinum pinfall to finish up. I just have to finish the editing though. It's all done. And the thing is an hour long. And it's going to take me all the way until May 19th. And I'm really excited. And I'm excited to take the kids to school. I'm secretly glad they only have a week and a half more of school, because once they're out of school, that frees me up to work all hours of the day. And that's what I'm going to have to do. But that's what I'm going to do. But I'm going to make sure that I'm back on July 9th. I already saw the poster, all the Cruel and purge influenced posters for IWE. And I'm excited because Tim is handling everything absolutely appropriately. And as I told him, like, protocols are going to have to be put into place. You can do side bends or sit ups, but please don't lose that butt. You can put in protocols and calls for certain kinds of behavior, but please don't lose that heat. Fuck it. Heat is the coin of the realm. It's why I didn't bitch after the fucking thing at Anarchy, because it was about getting heat. And if that translated to the boys as well as the fans, so be it. And maybe you don't feel the same. But has wrestling really changed that much? Fuck, I hope not.